This segment has been sponsored by Pro Bikes Caribe. Pro Bikes Caribe, get yours today. Before we get into today's interview, hear a little bit about the book from the author themselves.
Hi, I'm D.H. Gibbs, author of Mirror Witch Magic, a young adult fantasy with dark themes. It's about a witch forced to face her past when someone leaves a dead body and a blood-written note saying, I know your secret. If you like dark magic, found family, and slow burn tropes, then grab your copy on Amazon today.
Greetings, listenership. Welcome to TLC, Tropical Literature Creatives, the podcast where we interview authors of Caribbean heritage about themselves and about their literary works. Today we have with us author and teacher and self-publisher, Miss D.H. Gibbs, author of the book Mirror Witch Magic, as well as a couple of other literary gems which you'll be finding about during the course of this interview. So without further ado, Miss Gibbs, welcome to Tropical Literature Creatives.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me on your podcast today.
Oh, thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed.
You're welcome.
Before we get into the interview, there's usually a scenario I give to persons who are guests on my program. Imagine, we encounter each other for the first time at the airport in Trinidad and Tobago, which you're a native of. Coming to Trinidad for the first time, what would you recommend that I try when I get to Trinidad? What place would you recommend that I try? What food would you recommend? Yeah.
What food? Well, of course, I would have to go curry shrimp with curry mango and bus up shut.
My
Definitely my number one favorite food in Trinidad. And as for places, I'm going to ask you if you prefer relaxing on the beach or if you prefer wildlife. So if you prefer relaxing on the beach, definitely check out Maracas Bay, grab yourself a bacon shack with all the condiments in it, a nice cool start, and relax on the beach. But if we prefer the wildlife, check out the bird sanctuary, the Caroni Bird Sanctuary in the Chaguanas area, and just watch those birds come in the afternoon and take as many pictures as you can.
Okay, all right. So there's something for everyone. If you're someone interested in culinary stuff, there's something for you. If you're someone interested in just nature, there's something for you. If you're just there for relaxing, there's something for you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Gibbs recommends it.
100%.
All right. Well, Ms. Gibbs is one of my more interesting authors because, I mean, right now, as we're having this interview here right now, it's kind of happening in the future as Ms. Gibbs resides in Japan.
Yes.
Now,
13 hours to be precise.
so this is interviews happening in the future in the future right now, give or take, yeah, in the future. So,
Yeah.
so Ms. Gibbs, are you a full-time author?
I'm not a full-time author yet. I'm actually working on transitioning into becoming a full-time author. But right now, I'm currently an English teacher in Japan. So I teach persons from ages 3 and up, 3 and up, so no cutoff point. And they learn English from me.
Okay, that's kind of fitting as they're learning English from you that you're also a writer as well. So I guess I
Yes.
could see where, the skill from one area helps the other area.
Yes, so that's one of the reasons why it's easy for me to work on being both a full-time writer and being a teacher as well. So they kind of connect. And it's really beneficial for my students because they love to ask me vocabulary questions. And then sometimes I'm like, I may have to Google that one.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about your book, Mirror Witch Magic.
Mirror Witch Magic is actually the, I want to say, the third fantasy book I've written, but maybe it's overall out of all the books I've written, it might be the fourth or the fifth book because I can't remember which book was written first second, right? So, but the thing about Mirror Witch Magic, it was originally part of an anthology, and that anthology went on to become the USA Today's bestseller. So that book allowed me to get the USA Today bestseller title. Now, Mirror Witch Magic, of course, has a host of variety of POC characters, and it's an urban fantasy that takes place in a, of course, a fantasy world called Fusion City. And it's essentially about this young, I want to say young adult, new adult character that has magic, but she has like so much expectations on her that she's just literally running from who she's supposed to be. And of course, as the book continues, more is revealed. It's one of my darker fantasies because there's, of course, dark themes in it. And as the story unfolds, you get to learn more about how her magic evolves, what her past is like, why she's running from her responsibilities, like we all try to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's, of course, a love interest in there.
Okay, just a little bit of something for everyone, you just toss that in there. If I understand correctly, I mean, you work in different genres. Obviously, this fantasy novel, this fantasy novel, contemporary romance is something that you've written as well as children's books. Yeah. Obviously, you're no stranger to writing. You identified that you've been highlighted by USA Today, best-selling author. And you've also been featured by the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, a newspaper in your own country, as
yes, and NALI's First Time Author Award as well.
So I mean, being no stranger to writing, has writing always come easy to you, or is it something that you had to practice over time?
The story ideas come easily to me. Since I was in secondary school, me and my friends, we would write what is now considered fan fiction. And we would make up stories about our favorite characters that we love watching on TV, and we would write it in these copybooks. I don't want to age myself here. Copybooks. We would write it in these copybooks and we would exchange it with each other. So we always, writing was always a part of me. Now, whether I realized that it was something I wanted to do professionally, that came many, or as they say, donkey years later. And it started with a project that I did when I was working on my associates for my graphic design degree, associates graphic design degree. And I worked on a project and I realized that I really loved doing that. And it was actually the children's book, which was Don't Go Mango Picking. I worked on that project and I realized I love doing it. And from after working in that project, more stories started coming in my mind, which was the next story was Nika, which is now called Queen by Blood. And that story just wouldn't leave me alone. So I end up writing that story and building that world from there. Yeah.
And you've mentioned a number of other books. How many books have you written in total?
That is published.
Published. Yeah. Published.
I have some stories sitting on my laptop. I guess it would be if we don't count the novellas, it would be for fantasy, which would be Queen by Blood, Alpha by Blood, Air by Blood, and Mirror Witch Magic. And it would be 4 romance, which would be A Touch of Kindness, Fireflies and Strippers, Painting is an Enemies, and Games and Promises. So it'll be 4 fantasy and 4 romance if we don't count the children's and the novellas. If we count the children's, it would be 10, which would include Danny the Firefly and Don't Go Mango Picking.
I mean, that's a pretty impressive resume.
Thank you. I love stories, so.
It shows. We were talking before and you indicated that you're a self-published author. Why do you choose the route of self-publishing as opposed to going the traditional route of publishing?
Well, when I initially wrote Nika, which is now called Queen by Blood, I wanted to get the story out there, and I knew that if I went the traditional route, because of all the policies and the steps you have to take, I knew that if I went that route, I was never going to become an author. I was never going to move any further than that one book, because I would have to go through all the process of querying, finding an agent, and then the agent pitching the book to the publishers, and then going through the contracts. So I knew if I went that route, I was never going to move any further than that one book. So I self-published. I did some basic research. I self-published, and the story got out there, and a lot of people liked it, and I started building from there.
All right. I mean, that sounds like I like the start of that.
Yeah. So,
in terms of your self-publishing experience, you want to share a little bit about that? Is it something that, you were able to just read and just catch on? Or was
no.
Oh my God. If you can, yeah.
No, it was not. It was a steep learning curve, a really steep learning curve, because self-publishing is if you don't treat it as a business, it's a hobby, and it can be an expensive hobby. All right. When I initially self-published, I did 90% of everything incorrectly. So, because I didn't know, I didn't have that knowledge, I didn't fully, gathered the research and look at everything from all angles. And yes, traditional publishing has a lot of steps, but so does self-publishing. The only difference between the two is that with self-publishing, it's basically your business and you getting your work out there through through different means. So with self-publishing, you still have to learn the writing craft. You still have to learn the marketing aspect. You still have to make sure your book is properly edited, make sure you have attractive covers that meets the market. You still have to make sure that you write books, make sure you know the target audience you're writing your books to, and stuff like that. So these are things that you should know before you self-publish, but I did not know that. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna write my book and put it out there and people are gonna love it. No, it doesn't work like that. Right. And I like just today, was it today? Well, yesterday for me, I saw this author. She's a romance author, and she said that she's one of romance author who's doing really well in the self-publishing industry. And she said self-publishing is hustle culture for life. So you have to hustle all the time. And once you have like a large following of readers and they devour your work, they just sit there and wait for you to write the next book. So you are hustling all the time. And I see a lot of self-published authors. They make funny videos. It's like, me, I just hit publish on my book, and 2 hours later, readers are asking, when is the next one coming out? Right? Or authors are saying, get off TikTok, you should be writing. You know, readers are waiting for that next book. So, constantly hustling and, putting new stories out there. Now, whether you put those stories out there within 3, 4 months, 6 months, or whether you wait a longer time, like 1 year, it's up to you with self-publishing. But just know, depending on how long you take, your business strategy has to be adjusted accordingly. So yeah. So
Yeah.
I really learned a lot along the way. And the self-publishing industry is a lot of the authors out there are so nice, so kind, and willing to share information with you because they know what it's like. A lot of them, they don't gatekeep. They don't gatekeep. They share that information. So you just have to be willing to spend the hours of research learning the industry.
And that is encouraging to know. I wasn't aware of that aspect of the culture about how it is that there's a community ready. And when you engage them, they aid and assist. And, when one person wins, everybody wins, it seems.
Yeah.
And one of the items you mentioned as well is that there are persons there who are, usually waiting for the next book to come out, like 2 hours later, etc. I mean, was that how your books were received? With persons who like, hey, ma'am, when's the next one coming out? Was it like that for you?
In some instances, I would have people message me like, so I finished your book and it's been a while. Are you writing the next one? I have had people, so even with Mirror Witch Magic, because I'm a slow writer. I'm not a fast writer. I take a while to write my stories, something I'm currently working on improving. So Mirror Witch Magic actually came out maybe, let's say 2020, 2021. Now, logically, I should have already produced 2 more stories in that series. But like a bad author, I jumped on a new series. And I wrote the first book in that series and quarter of the second book in that series. And then I decided, I'm just going to sit on this story. For some reason, I decided to sit on this story. And then the characters of Mirror Witch Magic was like, excuse me, hello, what's happening?
Like, why are you doing this? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. So the characters for Mirror Witch Magic started speaking to me again. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but that's what happens. So I started working on the second book for Mirror Witch Magic. And I'm probably going to do the second and third book The second book is going to come out this year. And the third book is going to be completely written this year, but I'm not sure if I'm going to publish it this year. So
Okay.
it's a thought process. Yeah.
All
I
right.
should, considering there's like 11 months in the year to get everything done.
Just saying. Just saying.
Or we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it
Yeah.
goes. You had mentioned that, well, you had to learn self-publishing, etc. Do you see yourself, maybe offering mentorship or even like workshops and teaching persons how to do self-publishing?
Oh God, no. I can give you basic advice. I can recommend places where you can get information, but I'm not going to teach you to self-publish because that might be a case of the blind leading the blind. So let's not. I can give you basic information. I can tell you from my experience what has happened, and I can tell you where you can go to get information and what I've seen work for other person. And I can tell you there are much more experienced people out there who have done it and they're absolutely successful. But I would not do a workshop unless you want like a really basic workshop, like things that you should know, like a list of things you should know before you self-publish. I can give you that. But I am not going to teach you the industry because that's not my cup of tea, as they say. I can tell you where to go to find out the information, but I don't think I would be able to. I don't think I'm qualified enough to be able to teach a workshop on it.
All right. I mean, if that's your point of view, we can't argue with you. But I mean, we're looking at
Yeah,
your
that's
output, so we're thinking. I mean, she says she doesn't know, but we're looking at what's happening. So we can't help but we'll go with it just because she says so. The evidence says otherwise, but we'll go with what she's saying.
yeah, take my advice. Trust me.
Well,
There
seeing
are
that.
much more knowledgeable people out there on this topic. Yeah.
If you
And there's
say.
like a lot of information. Like people who have been doing this maybe 20 years and their name is like is practically like a household name in and household name, and people like hear the name and they already know some of these authors are self-published. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay. What would I mean, as you're a teacher right now and you're teaching English, what would your thoughts be if persons were to take books written by you to help them with their reading and their comprehension skills, with their understanding of the English language? What would your thoughts be on something like that?
it depends on the student. So I guess for me, one of the things that some that I've experienced with non-native English speakers is that they do struggle with terms of imagination. So imagining something and then making a sentence to match what you imagine. Now, using my books to help you build your imagination would be acceptable, but as in terms of English structure, because it's more of a fantasy world and a lot of the names and vocabulary is just not real places, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a English structure thing. If you want to do English literature and look at hidden themes and meanings, like, because learning standard English is one thing, but doing English literature where you want to do hidden themes and meanings and social situations, then I can say, yes, you can look at some of my books for that if you want to teach that aspect. But standard English grammar, I wouldn't use it for that. Social situations, idea generation, yeah, I can see that.
Okay, okay. You said that navigating the self-publishing space it's not something that you see yourself as an authority as.
Mm-hmm.
But having done it, can you think of three pieces of advice you would give to persons who are listening to this podcast who may be interested in self-publishing their own books? Three pieces of advice.
It depends on what your goal is when self-publishing. Do you want to self-publish as a hobby, or do you want this to be a business? If you want to self-publish as a hobby, you can do basic research, write your story, get it out there, tell people, oh, this is my hobby, I just put books out there. If you want to self-publish as a business, I would say, one, research is key, right? Two, prioritize your writing time. Do not do like me. Prioritize your writing time. Make that your number one goal, because your writing is the product, and without a product, you cannot have a business, right? Research and prioritize your writing time. And three, prepare to be chief cook and bottle washers. It's a business, and you are doing everything, right? And I would also look at number four, would be look out for scammers and always know what your return on investment is. All right. I would say those are the top four.
Yeah, I mean, you've been very gracious with your advice. I asked for three, and here we are. We're getting something extra.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, I mean, with the books that you've written, and like you said, it's like 10, maybe a bit more published books, that is. If it is that we wanted to get copies of your books, whether it be any of your romance novels, any of your fantasy novels, any of your children's novels, where can we get copies of them?
All my books are right now strictly available on Amazon. So if you want paperback, you can get the paperbacks on Amazon, which would include one of the children's books, and all of the published fantasy and romance books. If you want to get e-copies, of course, all of the books are on Amazon as well, and Kindle Unlimited, which is Amazon's monthly subscription program, right? If you want to get exclusive reads, like books that is not available anywhere and you can only get it from me, then you have to sign up for my newsletter. And if you sign up for my newsletter, I give you a free book, a free novella. So for my fantasy, you get the prequel, which is Crown by Blood. So if you've read Queen by Blood, etc., you get the prequel Crown by Blood as a free book, free novella. If you are looking at romance, you get my After the Ball romance, which is a Cinderella retelling, where they ask you what happens if Prince Charming divorces Cinderella and meets a nice, sexy Trinidadian chick and hooks up during the carnival season. So
I see.
yeah, definitely if you want to read After the Ball, check that one out. You have to sign up for my letter. I really did love writing that novella. And in the future, I'm going to be providing some bonus chapters. So sometimes readers want to hear more about these characters in a different light. So I'm going to provide some bonus chapters. The first bonus chapter is actually in the romance book from Games and Promises. I'm doing I've finished written it. It has to be edited. Bonus chapter for those two characters. It's a really funny, exciting bonus chapter. And I'm working on, and this is more on the romance end, I'm working on autographed copies of my romance books. So you would order those directly from me, and I would of course send you the signed book and a little bonus token, some bonus tokens in the package when you order directly from me. Once that goes out, you would of course see it on my social media, Instagram and TikTok.
All right.
Once I've finished the romance part, I'll do the theme for the fantasy, which is probably later in the year.
Okay, well, we'll make sure and follow you on the socials to keep abreast as to what's happening as well.
Yeah.
And I guess
you get a lot of on my socials, you also get a lot of teasers and videos from the books as well.
Okay. So all the persons there who are waiting for the books to come out, you're just teasing them and having them waiting and stuff.
Yes, because February I'm gonna start teasing Mirror Witch Magic 2, which is Mirror Witch Demon, and I cannot wait for that book to come out because I know I'm gonna get cursed out by the ending, because I know the ending, it's clear in my mind, and people are gonna be like, I'm excited. We get to see more of Selena and Ray in that story and the fallout from what happened in book 1.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to hearing more of it. Oh, we're wrapping up as we're kind of out of time, but we thank you. No problem. But we thank you for accommodating us to be interviewed, and we look forward to all the things that you're working on. So, ladies and gentlemen, teacher, self-published author, TNT Newsday finalist choice, and USA Today best-selling author, Miss D.H. Gibbs.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Have a great day, ma'am.
You too.
You've been listening to TLC, Tropical Literature Creators. If you've heard something of interest or something you like, reach out to us. Reach out to our authors. Follow us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you.